Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, honorable judges. Before I start, let me introduce myself. My name is Kartika Nursyifa Wijayanti, and I am from Tegal City High School 1. And today, I am here as the opposition side of today's motion, mainly talks about the victimless crimes. So, well, let's just start the discussion for today, the debate for today, which is victimless crime. So, what is a victimless crime, or for what is victimless crime for those who don't know? So, basically, victimless crime is legally prohibited activities or exchange among willing participants that do not directly harm anyone except possibly the parties who are willingly to do it. For examples, victimless crimes can go from drugs, they can go from gambling, prostitution, and also from alcoholics, because then again, it really harms themselves, that it doesn't really harm anyone else around them. So, what characterizes victimless crimes? The sociologist defines that victimless crimes as those which involves the exchange where the act of services by willing participants causes no overt injury to the property or person of any not consenting to the act. So I have these points as the contrary, which is why the first of all is that victimless crime impacts on society. So you may think that victimless crime is just impacts on their own. It doesn't impact the whole society as a whole. It doesn't impact the rest of the people. But no, because you, you need to realize that victimless crimes can lead to serious other crimes if not handled properly. You said that drugs and gamblings and prostitution or even alcohols, there are forms of people who wants to escape the reality. But let me say that let's take an example from one of the victimless crimes, which is drugs or the usage of drugs. So you can see that with the usage of drugs, it can actually create a domino effect that can not only harm the willingly participant, it can also harm other people, including their families and their friends. So the cycle begins when the dealer and the buyer exchange in drugs and money. And then the buyer bought the drugs from the dealer. The buyer gets addicted to the drugs that they consumed, and this and by addicted to the drugs that they consumed, it can support them to buy more drugs. And if they buy more drugs, they won't be able to do activities normally as what normal people would do. And if they aren't able to do activities normally, they wouldn't be able to make an income for themselves or the family or for the household. And if this happens, they would have no choice but to borrow money from their neighbors or their friends or money lenders. So with this cycle, they are continuously to be in a huge amount of debt. And not only that, if the money lenders or even their neighbors or friends, if they don't want to borrow or if they don't want to lend their money for the buyer, it can cause some serious troubles. It can cause some serious problems, such as it can always result to violence in the end. So not only that it affects the buyer itself themselves, it can also affect the other people, because as you can see that victimless crimes may lead to domino effects, and this can also be implemented into gamblings, like such as online gamblings. As you can see that it is quite known. You may heard a lot of online gamblings everywhere, and this has the same cycles with drugs, with the usage of drugs. With online gamblings, the player or the gambler, they would insert a huge amount of money from their savings, from their incomes into gambling until it satisfy their needs. And if they used all of their savings, they would have no choice but to borrow money from moneylenders. And mostly these moneylenders are illegal apps. They are illegal applications. They are not approved. And usually when these moneylenders wants to get their money back from the people who put amount of debt in them in their account, they would always terrorize their families, they would terrorize their friends and the people around where this person is in a huge amount of debt. And not only that, in the terms of prostitution itself, it can also cause some serious health problems, because you can see that mostly prostitution is, well, you think that is a choice, but mostly they are more forced into to working as a prostitution because of the because of their economic conditions. And mostly these kind of activities are done in illegal areas. And with that, it can be prone to sexual transmission diseases. And if the people who uses these prostitution services, they are led to roam around, it can also affect the health of their wives or their husbands or even their partners. So it can be quite a serious problem if this is not handled properly. So victimless crime is not just a crime that can harm the willingly participant, but it can also harm the people around them. Because as you can see that escaping reality, you can always do it without having to deal with those. And having the law to be involved with this is really important, because second of all, my last point is that the people who are linked to these kind of victimless crimes, they will be exiled from the society. They will be seen as a disgrace, they will be seen as a criminal, and they won't be able to find stable jobs to support their economy. And with that, they will fall into a deeper cycle of poverty. So that's all. So in my conclusion is that victimless crimes, as they sound harmless, they actually can cause a lot of problems, especially for the people around if it's not handled properly. If the laws aren't handling this properly, it can cause so many effects that not only the willingly participant got, gets, it can also affect the others too. So that's all I have to say. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.